So Tom, like first of all, like can you introduce yourself for the audience?
Yeah, so my name is Tom Barbeau. I'm a strength and conditioning coach for the Carolina Panthers. I have been here for 3 years. I do our speed program, some of our weight room, our speed, and I do a lot of return to play. That's in season, especially where most of my time is spent. Prior to the Panthers, I was at Baylor University for 3 years. I got my master's in a year and a half, and then got hired, stayed on staff. Before that, for 1 year, I was a head strength coach at a D3 school in New Hampshire called Plymouth State. And before that, I was an undergrad student at McGill University in Montreal.
Nice. So how is life in the pro setting?
I absolutely love it. It is, it's very different than college, especially the amount of time you have in the off season, because in college you're spending all of your time with the players, whereas in the NFL, like guys don't have to stay and train with you; they can go home, and then they come for OTAs, which is like organized team activities. So they come with you. You get 9 weeks, 2 weeks just strength and conditioning, and then 7 weeks of ramping up non-contact football, American football. Then they go away for another 6 weeks, and then they start training camp. So a lot of what we do is managing their in-season loads, managing their volumes, weight room versus field, and trying to make sure they are prepared for the demands of the sport.
So you mentioned that before these 3 years in the pro setting, you were at Baylor University, am I right?
Yes, yes.
I think I have a friend over there, and he left there like 3 years ago, and he was a grad student working with the track team. His name is Max. Do you know him?
Yes, I do.
Chinese
Yes,
guy?
I do. Yeah, he works in track and field. He works for the Chinese national team or something now, right?
Yeah, Chinese Taipei national track team right now.
Yeah, yeah, I know Max. We were there at the same time.
He was my dude.
Yeah, he's a great guy. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
we didn't work together because he was track, I was football, but we overlapped a lot. Our offices were really close to each other. So yeah, I know him very well.
nice,
That's
man.
funny.
Nice.
Small world.
Yeah,
Very small world.
he's a great friend to
Yes.
me. So,
Yeah. Smart guy.
anyway, you mentioned that in season you mainly work on speed, right?
Well, so we do both. It's a variety. The We try to make the speed um, happen organically, right? Because we know that exposure to high velocity, like 90 plus yardage, reduces the risk of hamstring rates. Really, you want your guys every 7 to 10 days to touch 90%. That's what we believe. Um, so ideally, that would happen organically in practice, whether it's, on special teams where they run down, there's more open space, they have the opportunity to hit it, but sometimes that can't happen on its own. So then you have to give them the opportunities. So if it's, especially in American football, the guys playing defense, like the cornerback, so and the defensive backs who are covering the wide receivers won't actually hit the high velocities, which you kind of would think they would because they're super fast, but they don't. If they're playing the position well, technically, tactically, then they won't be exposed to the high velocities because they will stay in front of their player. So you'll have to manufacture that in practice. So we do like top off runs, kind of like build ups or fly tens, kind of maybe it's more of a fly five, like a 20 to 25 yard build up, and then that way they touch the velocities. You know that they're safe throughout the course of the year, and we try to do that almost weekly if they're not hitting the velocities in the game. The other things, because you asked about speed in season, I'll just go. Um, the other things we'll do is at the end of our warm ups, we'll run 10-yard accelerations. Um, we know that JB Marin's research tells us that horizontal force production, when that decreases, we have an increase in hamstring risk. So I know they're just unresisted tens, but we believe that at least that is giving them some exposure. The next idea is how do we implement resisted accelerations? Uh, Logistically, don't quite have that answer for you yet, but it is the next thing that we're trying to think about and figure out.
So besides the in season, how like what about off season? How do you prep your guys for the speed demands or like the change of direction demands during the season?
So we use Catapult GPS. So we have what a week of practice will look like and then what preseason will look like. So we know their first week coming back by position, and even in some cases, like there's all the positions you think about in American football: wide receiver, running back, corner, whatever it is. But there'll be even guys who have special jobs on special teams, right? Like the guys that cover the punts are called gunners, and they're going to be exposed. Really, anybody covering punts will be exposed to ridiculous numbers of high velocity yards compared to the other guys on their team. So we will tell them, one, will prepare them in OTAs, all this stuff for what they're going to need. But then we will give them their information when they go home and say, hey, when you come back, within the first week, you are going to need to be prepared for 240 yards a day or whatever it is, 1,000 yards in the week. And then we will also send home an optional program where we program out like exactly how they're going to get the high velocity yards. So whether we're doing scissor bleeds into runs, dribble bleeds into runs, flies, slaloms, all of that stuff. Um, and then beyond just the yardage, what we know how many efforts they're going to need. So we'll build up those runs so that they're getting it, not only the yardage, but also the efforts. And then I know that the IMA metric is not perfect in Catapult because some of the change of directions that will not be fast enough to register as an IMA certainly are fatiguing on the tissue, but at least we have a general idea of IMA, so explosive movements, and then you can prepare them for that. That doesn't even have to be straight up change of direction. That can be, a med ball chop, med ball slams, that type of stuff, so that all of the tissues in the body are prepared. Because also in American football, it's upper and lower body contact, which they aren't going to get when they're not playing football.
So can you like walk us through like how is the like let's say during the in season, how's the weekly training layout gonna be like? Is it like
Yes.
probably like Wednesday or Thursday? Is it gonna be like some sort of like strength day? And when do you do like things like conditioning, or do you even need to do conditioning?
So in season, we most likely do not condition. Maybe specific groups will need it, but the sport is providing it. Um, and the sport obviously can be much, much more specific than we can. Maybe if a guy is in return to play with me, then they're going to get extra conditioning. Or if they're not getting reps, maybe they're going to get some extra conditioning. If they don't dress to play in the game on Sunday, we'll do some top up work or some extra conditioning. But our weekly breakdown in season. So you play the game on Sunday. On Monday, we will come in. The guys have an option to either go up to our indoor facility and do a 30-minute movement, gymnastic, footwork, like foot health, uh, kind of flush, or they can come to the pool with me and we do deep water pool movement. So flotation belts in the pool, all sorts of movement, forwards, backwards, sideways. Uh, we wear like flotation belts, flotation vests. We have flotation barbells, so we get everything going every direction. You get compression from the water, huge reflex to relax, huge recovery. So they'll get to choose between indoor movement or pool movement. Then they'll go in the weight room and we do a flush lift. So more like of a track and field bodybuilding style workout. So you build up the lactate. You know you're going to then get a recovery stimulus from that higher volume. And that day we'll do our Nordics. because it's the furthest away from the game day, and we still need to get our Nordics in. But we try to stay away from movements that are adding more compression to the system after the absolute violence that is the game on Sunday. Tuesday they're off, uh, so they will have there'll be some massage. We'll have some chiro options like that. Uh, Whatever they like to do for regeneration. Then they get the choice Wednesday or Thursday. They pick. We also will do our force plate jump on Monday. Um, I know you were talking readiness, so we will Nordboard and do Nordics. Occasionally, we'll use the groin bar force frame. We'll do that every 4 or so weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, and then they will jump on the force plate. I said that, yeah, on Monday. Then on Wednesday or Thursday, they get the option to do their big lift. So that's when we will clean pull or trap bar jump. We will squat. We will bench. We'll do chin up. We'll do an RDL or a hamstring long lever ISO, stuff like that.
How about things for like Tuesday and like Friday?
So Tuesday is there. It's completely off for the players. That's their day off. We're there, but guys can come in and do some movement, some mobility, whatever they want. But for the most part, you don't see a ton of guys. Friday, our practice squad will lift Friday morning. So the practice squad will lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They'll come in and lift Friday morning. And then Friday practice is lighter because the bigger practice days are Wednesday, Thursday. Friday practice, they still do stuff, but it's shorter, not as intense. The day is shorter. So then on Friday afternoons, normally the guys come in and do arms. Like you'll get some guys will bench, but most people won't bench. They'll come in and do, 50 bicep curls in as few sets as possible and 50 tricep push downs. And you got to make yourself look big for TV on Sunday. But that also is them. It is pushed by them. This year, the rule was you weren't allowed to wear sleeves in the weight room on Friday. So everybody would come in shirtless or someone would try to rip their shirt off and we do arms. So it's just that's more team building fun.
Nice, nice. So, there's a lot of lifting like in like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right? So, how kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into this. Like, do you have a theme for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for like each day, or it's just optional?
They just have to pick one of them. So they pick Wednesday or Thursday. Friday is completely, if you want to come do arms, you do arms, but there's really nothing. They just pick Wednesday or Thursday, and that's the big day. That's when you hit the big rocks because we're a vertical integration, Charlie Francis believers. So when we stack our stressors, so the Wednesday or Thursday practice is the hardest. So that's the day and they can choose to come in before practice or after practice. So your small guys that run a lot will come in Thursday after practice and they'll do their lift.
So, you mentioned that they're gonna do some Nordic on Monday, right?
Yes.
Is it Nordic hamstring curl?
Yeah. When you control yourself lowering for fascicle length, for hamstring health. Um,
So
yes.
like how much of like the volume or like intensity wise you're gonna do it on Monday?
So we'll do not a ton. I heard it might have been Joseph Coyne. It might have, I don't exactly remember who it was. I heard somebody on a podcast say basically like 8 to 12 reps of eccentric load will maintain fascicle length. So we try to shoot for that range since that's our goal. It might not. It was on a Pacey podcast. I forget who it was, but it was somebody about maintaining fascicle length and eccentric training, and they threw that number out, and it was okay. There we go. Like it's an easy number to hit.
Nice to hear that. So, uh, during the season, do you like is it like maintain the strength level, maintain the power level during the season, or you try like let them get stronger at probably peak at the off season or like Super Bowl?
So Ideally, you would like them to get stronger in season. I I don't know. Well, there's a couple things. One, like it depends how you're measuring strength, right? Because if we're measuring it by max back squat or max trap bar deadlift, they won't be stronger in season than they will be in the off season because their skill of doing that movement is going to be lower. So if that's how we're evaluating it, then they will not be stronger in season. And over the course of the season, they're going to get a little beat up. So you would say you're trying to maintain. Now, if we're using an isometric mid thigh pull to measure max strength, you have a better chance of saying, hey, maybe they're getting stronger throughout the course of the season. Again, I don't know if that's possible or not. I would like to think that they can get a little stronger, but then at the same time, keep the main thing the main thing. The goal of football season isn't to get stronger; it's to play the best football. So we don't want to take away from anything that can do that. Now, I'm not saying we don't, because you need the physical qualities to perform in the sport, especially such a violent physical sport. But I'm not going to say that we're pushing the volume and intensity in the weight room to the point that you're driving up those physical qualities at the detriment of anything that is the sport.
Cool. So this is also for in season. Do you guys, if you guys
That's all
want
in
to,
season, yes.
so let's say if you guys want to like monitor fatigue, besides the like force plate jump, do you do anything else?
We use Omega Wave, not with everybody, but with a few select players. So that helps. Um, we force play jump them. I don't know. I think that's well. I mean, even within the conversation and looking at the guys every day, I do think that's valuable. Coach Path, Dan Path, and Jonas Dodu talk about using, and Stu McMillan talk about using the movement screen as a warm up, or sorry, the warm up as a movement screen, and that's something we really believe in. Like, it's an opportunity every day to assess the guys. How are they moving? How are they looking? They'll tell you how you feel too. If they're blown out, they're going to come in the weight room and tell you they feel terrible. That's an assessment of readiness. We also use GymAware for our main movements. So if they come in and they say they're not feeling great and then they're squatting and it's below, it's normally they're supposed to squat 365 at 0.6 and now it's at 0.5. Well, then that's also an assessment of readiness. It's not a planned assessment of readiness, but it is a built-in assessment of readiness.
So that's all for like the in season. So kind of want to talk about like the off season, and I know for basketball because I work a lot with basketball. So for basketball, programming during the off season is probably like easier for us. But let's say, how about things in like American football? How does the off season look like, and how do you program the match like strength training or like speed training during the off season? I know you mentioned a little bit.
So um, I will speak in generalizations as if I had the guys the whole time, just for the sake of the theoretical conversation, or if you're in college, right? So you can, depending on the phase, if you're in a strength phase, a power phase, or the size of the athlete you have, because there's a distinct difference between the offensive and defensive linemen. So we call them bigs. Then your linebackers, tight ends, we call them combos, quarterbacks, and then your skill guys, small guys on the outside that run fast. Your defensive backs, your wide receivers, kind of your running backs. So you can put them either 3 or 4 day split normally. And what we would do is we would run kind of a strength phase into a power phase. We be like I said, we're high low. So, maybe you go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Your Monday is a primer day, especially in college. I'm never a huge believer in doing your max velocity coming off the weekend. You don't know what they've done. You don't know if they've gone out. You don't know how well they've fueled themselves. So it can be a conditioning primer day, whether that's tempo runs, something slightly more intensive, like a prowler conditioning with big guys, or like a shorter tempo run on a slightly fast, so like an intensive run. Um, and you can do an upper body lift on that day, but maybe you trap bar jump or definitely clean pull, something like that on that day. Then Tuesday, I would do a max velocity day. So that would be, dribble bleeds into runs, scissor bleeds into runs, build ups or flies. Um, if you want anything else, it would be within that same theme of upright running, though. I don't really believe that team sport athletes do a good job of managing acceleration from around 15 to 25 meters. I don't think they're, yards, meters, same thing. Um, I don't think they do a good job of getting themselves upright. And I think that that's where you end up seeing a lot of soft tissue problems. So when it's max velocity day, we will just focus on the upright running. We'll focus on those mechanics. We'll focus on getting them in positions, which is why we'll do the softer start fly tens. Then Wednesday is your off day. You do some regeneration, some mobility, whatever you want. Thursday is another upper body day, but definitely lower, probably the lowest volume of the week. Conditioning can be an extensive tempo day, but doesn't even have to be that much. And then Friday we do, so the last day of the week, the fourth day, we do as our acceleration day. So that would be, your heavy resisted accels, so your sled sprints, or your 1080 sprints, whatever you have. We use sleds. You do your sled sprints we pair them with your unresisted sprints, and then any other change of direction, acceleration type drills you like. And then that day you can do another lower body day. So a clean, a jump, a trap bar deadlift, a squat, whatever suits your fancy.
So, do you do like anything besides like tempo run for like conditioning during the off season?
We will use a prowler shuttle type thing. We will use a med ball, like a med ball conditioning. That's an old Coach Vermeil thing. We will take our warm up, which is very Altis, Jonas Dodu influenced, and essentially do like an extensive warm up. So all our dribbles, our scissors, our crossover runs, our karaoke over 20 yards, 30 yards. Um, we will do The other thing we'll do is we'll do like a animal movement, animal flow, gymnastics type thing in the warm up. I'm calling it a thing. I don't know. It's a huge variety of movements, multiple planes, multiple directions, and so like we could do that on our upper body day in the warm as part of the warm up, and that's going to be conditioning. I think the other important thing to also be reminded of, that Andrew Altoff is our director of human performance, and he and I joke all the time that everything is conditioning. And, we talk about doing sled sprints, heavy resisted sprints paired with unresisted sprints. Even if you're giving them full recovery, it's still conditioning because it's improving their ability to recover, which is improving their aerobic system. So that is also something I always have to think. Everything is conditioning.
I love the sentence you mentioned that everything is conditioning. Love that
That's oh yeah,
because like
that's words to live by.
because like when when I train like track or like train speed myself and kind of walk through those like warm up, let's say like skip switches or like dribble please and straight like bound. It's like kind of exhausting, tiring. So I
No,
really
no question.
so I really love
You're
like you mentioned that everything is like conditioning.
you're right on that. You can use that warm up as your conditioning session, especially if you have a deconditioned athlete or a return to play athlete. We call it the warm up, but it's really just movement. You can give it variety. You can add rolling and tumbling and whatever you want to it, and it's training.
Nice. Nice. So when like uh in the pro setting, how how do you like communicate with coaching staff and athlete or the athletic trainer or like the medical team at the same time and know like what exactly should you be like programming? What is the main theme for the day or like for certain athlete?
So as far as our department, so our department, we are a wellness staff. So our director of wellness, performance, innovation, medical is a gentleman named Rob Panarello. He's kind of, I don't know, a legend in the American strength and conditioning game. And he's new to us as of last year. And he's a PTAT strength coach, which is phenomenal because he really sees it from all sides. He always jokes with me that, what other PTAT knows about periodization and what other, strength coach knows about PTAT. So that's very nice because we're all under him. Then the other nice thing is our weight room and our athletic training room are right next to each other, and there's glass windows in between. So the communication and collaboration between groups is very easy. And the sports science staff, their office, it's Andrew Altoff and Ryan Belrose, their office is in the weight room. Our head strength coach, Jeremy Scott, his office is in the weight room. My office is in the back of the weight room. And we're all, together all day, really. So as far as that collaboration communication on our side goes, it is pretty seamless. Obviously, there's things because you get busy during the day, but it's pretty good. And then we will meet, especially in season. This is probably more important, but when we're going, our staff will meet in the afternoon after the day, and we'll talk through, what happened during the day, what modifications need to happen the next day, whether that's with practice, whatever it is. And then the directors, so the head athletic trainer, Kevin King, Rob Panarello, Jeremy Scott, Andrew Altoff will go up, meet with the football coach and the GM occasionally if needed. And they will pass the message along, have a conversation. So then that way the next day is planned and figured out. Um, as far as communication with the players go, the weight room is right next to the locker room. So the guys are coming through all the time. And it's really cool in pro sports because they have ownership over their performance. Right. At the end of the day, we are coworkers. And that's very enjoyable. That's probably what's one of my favorite things because they want to play well and I want them to play well. And we are working together for that. Um, and it's also nice, especially on our staff, because not everybody, like, we're aware that certain people have better relationships with players than other people. And that's totally fine. A different guy is going to gravitate to you than will gravitate towards me. And that's okay. We're all going to give the same information. We're all going to, um, get the necessary things done. And we're going to be happy because everybody likes different people. It's perfect. Um, so I think that really helps us as far as that communication goes as well.
So at earlier our conversation you mentioned like training for like max strength and I talked to like coaches with different like sports, let's say like things like basketball or like ice hockey or even like baseball. And there's not a lot probably basketball or hockey is a little bit like more collision based, but I don't think that there's any sport besides rugby is closer to like American football. So for preparing your athlete to be able to get hit or like be strong enough to take that hit, uh, from a strength training perspective, how do you like prepare for this? And like your thoughts on probably like bilateral strength training and unilateral strength training.
Okay. So the the first thing is you see, I'm sure you've seen on social media that the like contact prep is popular right now. You know, like Andy Ryland that's with USA Rugby, Scott Leach is at University of Rhode Island. Um, I think Nick DeMarco, like all these guys post a ton of stuff of what they're doing. It's phenomenal. I know Kier has been posting it forever, the rugby strength coach, right? And he's been posting it forever, and that stuff is phenomenal. The Unfortunately for us, the NFLPA has it set up. That's the Players Association, so that the players, when they're with the strength and conditioning, cannot be, well, one, during OTAs offseason, they really can never be competing against each other or in contact. So we can't use those drills. So we have to get very creative. The first thing to consider is contact is most likely an eccentric contraction. So it's not the same, but heavy eccentrics, those type of things could probably be all the way on the most general version of contact prep. Then as we get more specific, we can crawl. Like that's part of where our I talk about this gymnastic, like we can crawl, we can tumble, we can roll. Is it really the same? No, but it's a start. Then you're doing plyometrics, whether that's plyo push-ups or, I mean, we don't do like shock method, but you can do some bigger plyo push-ups, some hurdle hops, some depth jumps, stuff like that. Somewhat contact prep. Now we talk about catching an Olympic lift, catching a clean, probably some force absorption. The bar is landing on you. Now, maybe you're catching it weightless. I understand that argument as well. But we also don't have elite Olympic weightlifters, so they're not catching it weightless. Um, then, weighted trap bar jumps. It's gonna, like, you talk about, you would choose a trap bar jump over a clean because a trap bar jump has higher peak power, but that also means you have higher eccentric peak power. So that force absorption is a huge spike. It's somewhat absorbed full body. Now, is that contact prep again? I don't know, but I'm trying. We'll do stuff with med balls, throwing med balls, stuff like that. You throw it off the wall, you catch it yourself, so you're kind of getting it again, not really, but I'm doing the best I can. We're doing the best we can here. And then once the football starts, obviously they get a lot of it. The other nice thing in the NFL is it's required that you ramp into practice. You can't come out and hit in full pads the first day. So they come out, there are no pads on, and you slowly acclimate to the contact. It's not super slow, but it isn't day one getting your head knocked off. So that's a plus. As far as unilateral versus bilateral, I think you need both. I know that's the cop-out answer, but you need both. It can be heavy Hatfields, it can be heavy back squat, heavy front squat, heavy trap bar deadlift, whatever suits your fancy. There is something to be said for full body in American football for full body max strength. But I also understand that you can get people really friggin' strong on a split squat on. Now, we also know when you take away stability, you decrease force output, right? So the hand supported split squat is probably going to give you a much better argument, or you're going to be able to argue with me much better that that's driving up max velocity in comparison. In comparison to a rear foot elevated split squat on its own, in comparison to a pistol squat, right? And I think you need a variety of all of them in your program. So I'm not saying don't do any or do all, but I'm saying, yeah, probably give a variety of all. Yeah, that's what I got for you.
So how about in your situation, how would you like program uh bilateral versus like unilateral? Is it like is it gonna be as simple as probably do bilateral in the season or off the season and do the other on the opposite side?
We'll do both times a year, also dependent on the size of the player. So our offensive and defensive linemen are probably going to do 2 days of a big bilateral lower body lift because that's their sport. It's bilateral force production banging. Now, a skill guy will probably do one of each. So he might do, a heavy trap bar deadlift or a heavy whatever they like on one day, which doesn't have to be that heavy. Depending on the week, it won't even be heavy. I say heavy, but it's going to vary. And then on the other day, maybe they'll do a split squat. Maybe they'll do a rear foot elevated, but something like that. In season, they're just going to do uh, on that Monday flush lift, we'll do more unilateral work. And on the Wednesday, Thursday, that's when we'll do our bilateral.
Nice,
And
nice,
pretty much everybody's going to do a bilateral lift.
cool, cool. So, uh, does there like let's say there's probably gonna be mostly off season. There's going to be some NFL player, no matter like I think mostly like running back or like wide receiver. There's gonna be a video like how heavy, probably like 500 pound or like 600 pound, rep max, uh, back squat during the off season. Do you guys do that, or is just probably just for
Uh,
like Instagram?
we do not, because we do everything with gym aware. We're able to estimate their one rep maxes. And I mean, we'll go squat 80, 85% once or twice in the off season. I'm not saying we stay away from max strength, but the risk versus reward of doing a one rep max probably not worth it, right? Mladen always talks about you're either building or displaying qualities, right? And for us, the juice is not worth the squeeze. There is no point in displaying the quality. We will just continue to build, and we will wait for football to display the qualities. That's
Nice,
our belief.
nice. But usually, how strong are they?
Oh, mutants, the absolute freakiest human beings that walk on this planet play American football.
Yeah, to
It
be honest,
is
I never saw before. Let's say before I saw those like running back and wide receiver put on like 600 pounds of back squat. To be honest, I never saw any other athlete like can squat that heavy and that powerful.
it's well, so you got to think it is truly a repeat power sport, like even more so than basketball. Like that's because I played basketball, so that was my lens prior to working in American football. And you're like, oh, these guys jump all the time, they got to be the best jumpers. But all of those max output qualities are dampened because there's such an aerobic need. There's not that big of an aerobic need in American football. It's not. So these guys are just speed powered thoroughbreds. And you'll see we have a running back who in college squatted like 635. He can trap bar deadlift 600 pounds, no problem. He runs in the upper 23 miles an hour when he wants to. It's just the outputs are insane.
Crazy. So
It's like we have 185-pound cornerbacks that can trap bar deadlift 550. We have a wide receiver that'll trap our deadlift 500 pounds like once every 3 weeks in season. It's it's really unbelievable.
yeah, that's crazy, man. So do they? I mean, throughout those years, or probably like uh yeah, throughout those like let's say probably 3 or 5 years of the player's career, do they like get stronger or I mean it's 500 pounds, man, or like 600
So
pounds.
they probably peak max strength in college because that's more of the focus of the college strength and conditioning programs. When they come to the NFL, it's more about technical tactical skills, and it's more about longevity, health, because when we sign a player, it's an investment. In college, you have them for 4 years and that's it. So you can drive performance as hard as you can. I know that sounds bad saying it that way, but I just think that's reality, right? And they're young. There's a big difference between being 18 to 22 and being 28 to 30 to 33, 35, right? There's a big difference in the volume you can handle, the intensity you can handle. Um, and then the technical tactical skill. Like they know what they need. So
Yeah,
you don't get the same. You'll get some offensive linemen and stuff that push some crazy max strength, but for the most part, it's not the same.
yeah, I love that. It's like I'm prepping for a like 100-meter sprint, a meet next week, and
Oh,
it's to be honest, it's not this. I'm 30 right now. It's not the same when I'm like 22 or 23. It's so hard to recover, man.
yes, yes, you're sore. You feel like crap. You're beat up. Oh yeah, no question.
Every day.
That's uh Dan Paff always talks about when he had Greg Rutherford at the towards the end of his career. They were on a 10-day rolling split, and it was you get the output when you can get it, and you recover until you can. It's all about the intensity when you can get the intensity.
Nice. So, uh, from being at Baylor University to a pro setting right now, Carolina Panthers, right? So,
Mhm.
what's the difference between like training a college or training football player or football team at college and being a strength coach at pro setting?
Um, I think how you coach the guys is a little different. Like I said, it's way more of a coworker environment. Um, I'm the same age as a lot of. I'm 30 as well. I'm the same age as a lot of the players. So that's a difference. The the methods of the coaching staffs are different. The amount of time you have with the players are different. So it's way less like dictatorship is not the right word, but it's way less authoritarian in the NFL. Um, I am not the yeller, the I don't know the right word, like punisher coach as it is. I am the talker. Like that's just my personality. So it wasn't as big of a difference for me, but also I think that my personality fits better in the NFL. I prefer pro sports for that reason. Um, yeah, and then also like we talked about with the age groups and everything, like with my most of my focus being in return to play and season, I think you're so valuable in the National Football League because you play 18 games. The guys are older; they don't recover the same way. So and it's a sport where you have a 100% injury rate. Like nobody's make nobody's making it out clean through the whole year. Maybe they'll play every week, but something is going to come. So how you manage them, how you take care of them, how that's why the athletic training staff is so important. That's why the physical therapists are so important throughout the course of the year. That's why the regeneration and the massage therapy and the chiropractors, like there's so much that goes into it. That's in college, you play 11, 12 games. You're going to play two teams that you're paying to be there that you're going to beat the crap out of. So that's in the NFL, that it's any given Sunday you can win or lose. It can be the worst team in the league against the best team in the league, and there's no guarantees.
Nice. So, how do let's say from a college football coach, strength coach to how do you get from a college strength coach to a pro team performance coach?
You get very lucky. That well, no, but you prepare yourself, right? So every day you prepare yourself for what you want your dream job to be, your next job to be. Then you get lucky. Now maybe you make your own luck, but you need the opportunity. There's no question about that, right? Like I'm at Baylor and Matt Rule is the head football coach, and Matt Rule gets the head job at the Carolina Panthers. And then all of a sudden I'm with the Carolina Panthers, right? And our staff is there. So it's absolute luck for that to happen. But at the same time, the entire time at Baylor, we are working, and preparing ourselves every single day and you win football games because of everybody in the organization. And therefore, when the head football coach gets, this opportunity and brings, right, like not everybody is afforded that opportunity. So I think it's both. It's both.
Cool. So that's also I saw lot of like is it like online like conference with Derek Hansen on Instagram?
I'm not. Oh wait, I'm not sure. So he used to do like the Zoom pops.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He would
yeah.
do. Yeah. So um, we would get on some of those and talk shop. Those were awesome. Um, Derek Hansen is good friends with a number of people that I've worked with. Andrew Altoff, our sports scientist, and then the Olympic performance at Baylor, Chris Ruth, who's a track guy. They're friends. So, and then Derek Hansen is also worked a lot with my mentor Kent Johnston, who worked in the NFL for 25 years. They've worked together a lot. Um, so that's yes.
Cool, cool. So that's like basically all the question I have for today. I really like love our conversation, enjoyed our conversation today. So for those who are interested in what we are talking about today, where can they reach out to you?
I'm Barbeau Training, so my last name Barbeau Training on Instagram, Twitter. Um, you can email me. It's thomas.barbeau@panthers.nfl.com. Um, I'm happy to chat. I love talking training whenever. Um, but it's probably, I mean, Instagram and Twitter is the easiest way to get to talk to me. Um,
Cool. I'm gonna give a shout out to Matt.
yes, yes, for
So
sure, for sure.
yeah, he he's probably one of the main reasons I started this podcast, and it's probably two years ago I think, and he came back
That's
to
small,
Taiwan.
small world. Yes, that's phenomenal. I'm gonna have to message him. That's fantastic.
I hope probably next time we can invite him on.
Yes, we should. We definitely should.
Yeah,
I see
cool.
he's been doing some great stuff. So
Yeah,
he's got those boys jumping.
yeah.
Got some
Do you
guys
follow
flying.
his Instagram?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So
Yes.
if there's anyone who are like interested in finding you, they can find you on Max Max Instagram.
There you go. Yes.
Cool.
Go to his followers.